introduction, and then I'm going to turn it over to our presenter this morning. I'd like you to meet Mrs. Eileen Brink. She is from the Oneida Herkimer Solid Waste Authority, and she's just here to talk to us about recycling and taking care of our earth. Okay? Please show her respect and use our best manners this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone this morning? Good? Okay, good. So again, my name is Eileen. I am the recycling coordinator at the Oneida Herkimer Solid Waste Authority. And that's a really long name, so we just call ourselves the Authority for short. And what we do is we basically take care of all of your garbage and all of your recycling. So whether it's coming from your house or your school, or if you go out to eat somewhere, we are taking care of all of that garbage and recycling. So we have our own recycling center. We also have our own landfill, which is where all of your garbage goes. We also have facilities called our eco-drop facilities, which are for things that are still recyclable, but they're a little tricky to put in your recycling bin. So we have those facilities to make sure that people are still recycling these items because they can be made into new things. So in the spirit of Earth Day coming up soon, I'm just going to talk to you guys about why we recycle. So there's actually a lot of reasons to recycle, including saving resources, helping the environment, and saving energy. So everything that you own is made out of resources, and they come from the world around us, whether they're man-made, meaning that we're making them from scratch, or whether they're coming from nature. So here's a few examples of what are called natural resources. You all know trees, right? So millions of trees are cut down every single day. And that's a lot. And that's so we can make things like paper, wood to build houses, and also wood so we can fuel our houses. So all that comes from trees. There is also cotton, like this. Cotton is a plant, and it grows very close to the ground, and it actually takes up a lot of water. So we need a lot of water to grow this cotton. And I'm sure, as some of you know that cotton is used to make clothing, fabric. You can make oil out of cotton, and actually money is made out of cotton. Yeah. So those dollar bills that you have, even though they feel like they're made out of paper, they're actually made out of cotton. So that's another thing that we can make out of cotton. Another natural resource that we use a lot is sand. And sand is made when a bunch of rocks are broken down by like waves or the wind. They're broken down into a bunch of teeny tiny little pieces, and that's what we know as sand. And it takes thousands and thousands of years to make sand. So sand is used to make things like electronics, paint, and actually glass is made out of sand. So we melt the sand down, and it turns into this mixture that's kind of like Play-Doh, if you can picture that. And once we have this Play-Doh-like mixture, glass can be formed into things like windows, like the flat pieces of glass. Also mirrors are made out of glass. So again, all of these things that you have around you every single day are made out of natural resources. Another type is metals and minerals. And these are actually resources that we have to dig out of the ground. So you hear of metal mines, where they're pulling things like steel or aluminum out of the ground. And these are used to make things like cars or cell phones, TVs, a lot of electronics, and jewelry. So that's what metals and minerals can make. And then we also have crude oil. Crude oil is something that we also mine out of the ground, but it kind of gets sucked out of the ground with a giant straw. It's not broken up into pieces like we do with metals and minerals, but crude oil is used to make gasoline, which helps power your cars. It's also used to make plastic. So kind of like how we melt down the glass and make it into a Play-Doh mixture, that's kind of how plastic is made out of crude oil too. So getting to all of these natural resources takes a lot of time and money and energy, and the people gathering these resources have to put a lot of work into them just so we can use them to make the things that we own. So where does recycling come into this? Recycling helps us kind of keep from having to go through the process of, number one, finding where all these resources are. Number two, getting the machinery into where the resources are so we can gather them. And then number three, sending the resources out to a manufacturer so they can be made into all of our items. And then after that, our items get sent to the store so we can buy them and bring them home and use them. So plastic bottles, for example, I kind of already talked about this, but when you put a plastic bottle in your recycling bin, it gets brought to our recycling center. We sort it out from all of the other types of recyclables, and we then send the plastic to a recycling mill. At the recycling mill, the plastic gets ground up and it gets melted down. And like the Play-Doh, they push it through a screen, which turns it into these teeny tiny little fibers that look like hairs almost. And that makes something that looks like cotton. So instead of, picking fresh cotton out of the ground from nature, we can actually make something very similar out of plastic water bottles. So once that cotton type material is made, it's made into a fabric that's called polyester. And we see polyester everywhere, in a lot of your clothing. If you have like a really fuzzy fleece jacket, that's made out of polyester, which like before is made out of plastic water bottles. So if you have a fleece jacket or a fleece blanket, chances are that you're wearing or you're snuggling up with some old plastic bottles. And that's how recycling works. So I already talked about plastic. Plastic can be recycled about 10 times. So that means a water bottle can be made into 10 new things over and over again. Paper can be recycled up to 7 times. So when you put a piece of paper in your recycling bin, it again comes to our recycling center. We sort it out from all the other recyclables, send it away to be recycled, and it's made into either new paper, new cardboard, maybe a newspaper, maybe wrapping paper. So again, all of these things can be recycled and reused to make brand new things instead of going out, getting the resources, going through that really long process to make them from scratch. So by putting things in your recycling bin, instead of putting them in your garbage bin, you're helping save resources and energy and a lot of time that it takes to make new things. So let's talk about more different kinds of recyclables that you can put in your bin. In your recycling bin, you can mix together paper, plastic, metal, and glass items. Before, you had to separate out your paper with all of your different plastic, metal, and glass items. But our recycling center got a really big upgrade, which allowed everybody to mix everything all together so you don't have to sort anything out at home. So paper items that we accept for recycling include newspaper, printer paper, notebook paper, those brown paper grocery bags we accept for recycling, and then milk cartons. Do you guys get milk cartons here at school? Yeah. So those can be recycled and be made into new milk cartons. Plastic plastic items, we accept all bottles, cups, and containers. We call that the plastic recycling ABCs. So do you guys want to recite the plastic ABCs with me again? Ready? All bottles, cups, and containers. Yeah. So all of those kinds of plastic items you can put in your recycling bin. So that includes like water bottles, yogurt containers, juice jugs, any like soap bottles you might have. Those can all be recycled too. And then metal items like soda cans or metal cans, those can go in your recycling bin too. And then any glass items like glass jars or glass bottles can be recycled as well. We do kind of ask that you kind of think of what your recyclables look like before you put them in your recycling bin. So, you know, we ask that you make sure that there's no food stuck in them. We make sure that all of your bottles are emptied out. You can put the caps right back on top of them. And again, just make sure that they're nice and clean, because then that makes sure that all of it will get recycled at the recycling center. I think we have time for a few questions about recycling. So why don't we go around and answer some of those questions if they're ready. What's your question? So you have a garbage bin and a recycling bin. So all of your recyclables can go in your recycle bin, and then anything that's not recyclable can go in the garbage. What's your question? Yeah, so you have a recycling bin and a garbage bin, just so you can separate everything out, because your garbage goes to the landfill and your recycling goes to the recycling center. What's your question in the blue? Yeah. So that's because, like I mentioned, trees can be used to make a lot of different things. And you know, we do need them to breathe, but also we need them to make all of these other things. So that's a good question. I don't know why they do that, but that's why we're trying to find different things to use instead of cutting the trees down. And that's again why recycling is a good thing, because we want to try to recycle what we have already instead of taking it brand new. How about you in the black shirt all the way in the back? Do you have a question? Okay. Let's go with you in the black and red sweatshirt. Yep. Can I recycle what? No, you can't recycle in a garbage can. So once you put something in the garbage, it stays in the garbage. We don't pick through it and we don't pull out all of the recycling. So that's why we need help from all you guys, so you can know the rules of recycling and make sure that all of your recyclables are getting recycled. How about you in the green t-shirt?
What was your question?
So the blue bags in the city of Utica are for your garbage. And that's kind of, instead of having a garbage bin like some people have, the city of Utica is different and they have the blue bags. And that's just because that collection system works better for the city than the carts that you see elsewhere. Do you have a question? What's your question? sweatshirt. Yes? Yeah, so if you see something that's on the ground, maybe if you're outside or if you're inside, if you see something that's on the ground that maybe looks like it was supposed to go in the garbage, you can always pick it up yourself and then put it in the garbage. That's to make sure that maybe somebody doesn't step on it, or if you're outside to make sure an animal doesn't pick it up. So yes, you should always clean up things on the ground if you think that they're garbage. Alright, so that is kind of all that I have for you guys today. And I would like for you to tell somebody that you see today 2 things that you just learned. So anything about natural resources or anything about recycling. Go ahead when you go home today or after school, find 2 people that you can tell 2 things that you learned about recycling. Can you guys do that for me? Okay, great. So thank you for having me. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.